Welcome back live from Radio Row here. I'm delighted to be joined by Charlotte Offord from NFL Australia. This week, Australia has been at the forefront of everybody's mind with the announcement that the Rams and 49ers will play in Melbourne in the 2026 season. How has the excitement been?
It's been fantastic. I couldn't have really asked for a more competitive matchup. So we're pretty excited. We have a big stadium down there. The Melbourne Cricket Ground, the NCG, is 100,000 seats. So it's not a small stadium to fill, but we're excited that, having a good matchup and having a divisional rival matchup will certainly help us to have a full slate of fans in the stadium.
You're so right, and it is the matchup as well. It's a really enticing one. An NFC West divisional matchup. It's incredible. You couldn't have asked for much more of a competitive environment than that, or a competitive event. Our countries aren't similar in size, but we've got a lot of similarities between Ireland and Australia.
Yes.
We like to have fun, we like to enjoy ourselves, but more importantly,
we like green too.
But we're sports mad.
Yes.
We have our own native sports as well, Aussie rules, as we know it.
Yes.
Football, I guess, as you call it. We have our Gaelic football, and we have a lot of crossover there as well. How will this be received in Australia as a sporting nation, a proud sporting nation? I know you've got your rugby, cricket, you've got your Aussie rules, as I mentioned, but how will this fit in, and how will the Australian population take to this?
Yeah, look, we've been in market for the last 3 years now, and we've just seen the fandom and the growth of the fandom go from strength to strength. I think, to your point, they're a sports mad market, just like the Irish, and they love all sports. So, I think we've been very lucky in the fact that they want to go to every major event. They want to be at the forefront of every sport, and it doesn't really matter which one it is. I think we're also very lucky that the two main codes in the market, we only overlap seasons by 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when those seasons are over and, let's face it, once you start getting into playoffs and finals and the other codes, if your team's not in, it's not in, right? And so we find that a lot of fans then continue with NFL through the rest of the season, which is fantastic. So well received. We've had 123,000 signups who are fans registering their interest for the game.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, what's the capacity of the MCG? It's the MCG.
It's 100,000.
100,000.
Yeah.
You reckon it'll be close to full, or?
I think it will be absolutely packed to the room.
Yeah. Like, we had the same in Croke Park this year. Obviously, we're fresh off the back of hosting our first NFL game in Dublin, in Ireland, and what a memorable experience it was. It was, we couldn't have asked for a better outcome in terms of the spectacle we got. I'm sure, Australia will put its full weight behind it in terms of embracing the Australian culture, introducing the American fans to the Australian culture.
Absolutely.
What are you looking forward to the most about this event?
Oh, I think I'm really just looking forward to, it's always that moment when you have a full stadium full of fans and you're able to give them something that they may not ever be able to experience. Like, not everyone can travel to America, and not everyone can see an NFL game live in the flesh, particularly a regular season game. And you would know that from obviously having delivered one last year and seeing just how amazing it is to have local fans be able to share in the experience of a sport that maybe is untouchable or not accessible for them usually.
You mentioned accessibility, and that was one thing that was brought up with Christian McCaffrey earlier on in the week. We saw clips of him just questioning, I suppose, the distance to Australia. That's one thing that might be a potential drawback. How do you see the league kind of counteracting that? Because we've mentioned all of the positives about Australia as a natural progression to this international market. How will they combat that distance and how it may affect players in the week before and the week after the game?
Yeah, it's funny that you say that. I think it's often a mindset thing.
Yeah.
Like the flight distance is probably about the same amount of hours as it is to the UK. From the West Coast. So we were talking about it with colleagues earlier this week, is it took them 12 hours to get here. It took me 12 hours. Yes, the time zone change obviously is dramatically different. But I think if we're able to have the game at the beginning of the season, it allows people to come in earlier, acclimatize to the time zone, and then kind of deliver at their full potential.
And they travel west, don't they? So it'll be like, the fact that you've got two Western teams playing each other, it makes more sense to keep it to two teams on the West Coast.
And it's great. It's a great way to test it and to learn and understand. Whilst we've thought a lot into the logistics and the operation behind it, this is not a decision that was made without a lot of thought. We're also learning. At the same time, we're also, just like you guys having the game in Dublin last year, I think you're learning something new that you'll then adapt and tweak and change as you have more games in the future. So I think having two West Coast teams helps to test that theory out to start off with, and then hopefully in the future we can rotate different teams from other coasts of the US.
We've been I mentioned all our similarities. We've been very excited this year with the emergence of a few Irish kickers into the league. So it's our first experience of having regular season players on NFL rosters. So we had Jude McTominay playing for the Giants early on, and later on in the season we had the emergence of Charlie Smith as who is now a national superstar and an international superstar on an NFL level. You guys have experienced it over the last couple of years with Jordan Mailata, and I know you're rushing off to meet him in a minute, so I'm not going to keep you too much longer. How important has having Jordan Mailata, Super Bowl champion, and not just a journeyman, and a fundamental part of that Super Bowl winning team, and one of the staples in that offensive line, how important has that been in giving American football the spotlight in Australia?
Hugely beneficial. I mean, I think Jordan is an incredible person, incredible athlete, and has an incredible story behind him.
And a good singer as well.
And he's a great singer too. The whole lot.
Yeah.
No, I think, having local heroes inspires young people to want to play the sport. And it also inspires people, if they're not sporty or they wouldn't be able to play the sport, it inspires them to follow that team and follow that player. And so what we've seen with Jordan is we've developed a lot of Philadelphia Eagles fans. That has been a very big prominent piece over the last few years, because people are inspired by Jordan. They're inspired by his story. They want to see him succeed because he's just like them. Yeah. And I think you'll see that exactly when you're talking about Charlie Smith and others. We have Michael Dixon in the Seattle Seahawks Super Bowl team this year. And again, he's another person that people are now looking up to, and they're inspired by him. They're like, if he can do it, then maybe I can do it.
Yeah.
And if I can't do it, I can at least follow him and be proud of what he's achieving.
So if the Seahawks win this weekend, you'll be racking up the Super Bowl, the Super Bowl champions. Listen, I won't keep you. I know you're rushing off to meet Jordan, as you mentioned. Thanks so much, Charlotte. And I wish you all the best, and wish Australia and the Australian public the very best in hosting that event this season.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.